So, I should be live on this fine April Fool's Day. What a wonderful luck having our stream day on April Fool's itself, so I can turn this into a part of my videos. Ah, man, always a stressful day for me to try to finish everything up. But yeah, hi everyone. How is everyone doing? Oh, guess I'm alone. Guess I got better things to do. Oh well. Then it's just me. Anyway, yeah, we haven't anything planned today. I guess that's why nobody showed up. So it's just drawing requests. There's still a video for Luke I'm supposed to be making, so I'll focus on that. But if anyone in the comments has a request for me to draw, then I'll do that. And let's hope the computer doesn't break down this time like last time. That was kind of sad. Ah, good times. Yeah, computers. I need a new one day. So yeah, let me know in the comments if there's a request. You have a funny idea for me to draw, and otherwise I'll just be screwing around with my own stuff. It's like a silly video for Luke, a remake of one of my old ones. How's everyone in the chat doing? Remember to say frequently, children, don't be like Roger. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Review the new Sonic April 1st game. Yes! I definitely should be talking about that one. Not today yet. I'm busy with my own project, but I'm definitely going to play that game soon. Hearing a lot of good things about it, so that's going to be great. Adrian has a request. Anna Bunchai Amphobia as a Mobian Anthro-Frog character. Wow, that's quite a mouthful. I have no idea what that is. Guess I'll have to look it up. Anne Bunchai. Let's take a look what I'm supposed to be drawing. Oh, yeah, now she looks familiar, right. Never watched that show, but she looks familiar. So it's a blue frog Sonic character, huh? Alright. Well, let's go then.
Stick it up, Roger! This is the hijack! Me and Phil are taking over this. Yeah, we're taking over. Yeah, this is our stream now. Me and Sylv, we're going to be talking about Zelda.
Heck yes! Zelda, woohoo! Not that stupid blue hedgehog, whatever thing he is.
Yeah, the best fantasy epic adventure game series ever.
Fuck yeah! So, Luke, what are your top 3 favorite Zelda games?
It would be Ocarina of Time on the N64, Link's Awakening DX on the Game Boy Color, and Twilight Princess.
Those are mine too! What a surprise!
Yeah, I just really enjoy the epic storytelling in these games. There's like a fairy tale that's come to life that you are a part of. Because I grew up on like 80s fantasy adventure movies and TV shows, and throughout the night when I was a kid, I grew up on the legends of King Arthur and his mighty, how he pulls the sword in the stone and fights dragons, and goes on adventures with his Knights of the Round Table.
Wow. I didn't grow up with that much knightlyhood stuff, whatever. I just grew up on the games because my brothers used to play Zelda games. So
Were there any fairy tales that you used to grow up on? That you
fairy tales. I mostly grew up with cartoons, but one of them will probably be a little bit of, let's say, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon a bit. So that's like fantasy, but not like that much.
Yeah, and for me, it would be He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. You got this guy with a magic sword that turns him into a hero, a powerful hero that defends the realm from this evil skeletal warlock that wants the power of Castle Grayskull.
Yeah, by the power of Grayskull!
I have the power!
Exactly, yes. Ooh. And then we got our main character of the Zelda games, Link. Even though it's not in the title, it's Link.
Yeah, for years I always thought his name was Zelda because I didn't know it was a girl's name.
How dare you! How dare you, Luke! How dare you! But you've redeemed yourself by playing the games, of course, and learned by heart that Link is Link and Zelda is Zelda, and Ganon is Ganondorf.
Yes. My very first Zelda game was, in fact, Link's Awakening DX, which didn't have Zelda and Ganon. I mean, how I've learned about the game was I got myself this video game mag on the Game Boy Color, and it had like a little review of Link's Awakening, and at the back it's got like a walkthrough of the game, and reading through it was like reading an actual fairy tale. Like, you can go to these places, you can go in these dungeons, like, and then you meet these monsters, and I thought, wow, you can actually do all this in the game. And so I began saving up my money, and I eventually got the game.
So the Game Boy DX.
Yes, the Game Boy Color game.
Yeah, for me it was the original Game Boy version, so you could say black and white version. I could not play it all the time because it was my brother's Game Boy, and my mother also played the Game Boy because every single mother back then in the 90s was playing Tetris. You know how that goes. So that was my first experience with the Zelda franchise altogether, but for nostalgic reasons and because it's a good game, Link's Awakening, for that reason, is in the top 3 for me too.
Yes, but I didn't actually get into Zelda until a couple of years later when I got my N64 and I began saving up my money to get Ocarina of Time. I mean, I was a bit nervous about getting the game at first because I saw all these screenshots of all these terrifying skeleton warriors, the Stalfos, because I was a bit scared of skeletons as a kid. But I thought, like, as I want to be involved in an epic adventure, and it could be like this TV show I grew up as a kid called Nightmare. And I thought, I might as well get it. And so I got it, and it was actually felt like I was in a terrifying fantasy adventure. It was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. As I learned later on with Link's Awakening, one of the producers or people who worked on it actually did like movie scripts or something, or like movies. So it's very obvious when you play the game. It really has that movie feel to it. Like, even though it's like just pixels, it's really like really well written.
Yeah, because it does evoke memories of, like, say, the Never-Ending Story. You know, with you could imagine like Link and Atreyu being similar to each other, riding across the plains, going on their adventure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, and you got like this adventure, this story when you're a little boy, and you have to meet this talking tree who tells you to go meet the princess, and you have to find these spiritual stones in order to get the Triforce, which is a very powerful artifact where whoever wields it can gain ultimate power. And so I thought, well, this is going to be a bit of a short game then. So, and because I didn't know what was going to happen, like, you get the spiritual stones, you find this sword in the stone. I thought, oh, okay. So, and then a massive twist appears when apparently you're not old enough to actually properly wield the sword, and so you end up in a coma. And so the scary looking dude Ganondorf comes in, and he steals the Triforce, and thus, you end up in a sleep for 7 years, and so you wake.
You pretty much are skipping puberty, so you don't have any trouble with that, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So then when you return back to Hyrule as a fully grown adult, because I remember being confused, why is there two different versions of Link? And so you come back and you find out the whole world has been destroyed. The nice looking town you're into, it's in ruins and it's
in calamity, yes, yes, and people are sad, and yes, and zombies roaming around in the cheerful Hyrule town. Yes,
they were terrifying. Yes, you see like Death Mounting suddenly resembling Mount Doom. It was like, ooh. Then so you have to go into an even more deep, dark, a bigger adventure. You must go into these ancient temples that are filled with horrifying monsters, and you must awaken the 7 sages in order to properly defeat Ganon. And if you go up to the castle, it's no longer there, and you see this giant tower that evokes that of Sauron's tower, Barad-dûr.
Yes, surrounded by lava and such, and doom and death.
Yes, exactly. So, and I suppose what I also loved about it was the music. It's got some very mystical tunes that, especially when you go into Hyrule Field for the first time, you get this epic music going on. Yeah,
the whole epicness going on. Not too much, but just right. Like hitting the spot, like you're going really on an adventure. Especially like really the first time when you leave the forest, the Kokiri forest.
Yeah, I remember my first scary experience where you try to get to Hyrule Castle town and you don't make it to the bridge in time and it closes up.
Oh,
yes. It gets dark and suddenly these horrible skeletal monsters come out of the ground.
Yeah, that was the worst for me. I was like, no, running away the whole time, and then they kept popping up and I was just terrified of them back then. But now, like years later, when I've played it, like, oh, just chop your head off. You're annoying, yes, but yeah. And then later on,
I knocked one into the moat one time.
Yeah, nice. And then later on, they came back in Breath of the Wild.
Oh yes,
Familiar faces.
Yes, and going back to music, I think I like the idea of like how I learn about the musical instrument that is the ocarina, and you learn all these tunes, like some from various characters. And some from Sheik, who teaches you various sages songs, and they can like stick in your head for a while.
Yeah, what would be your favorite song from like ocarina song from Ocarina of Time?
Has to be Saria's song because it's that catchy. Especially when you teach it to Daruni and he starts dancing. Oh, yeah!
Yeah. Indeed. I think mine would be, well, that one, of course, and also the Song of Storm. Just because of what's his name again? In the mill, the music guy, what was he called?
Windmill Man?
Yeah, was it just that? Oh, I thought it was like a different name. Anyway, yeah. Just how mad he gets when the mill goes mad, pretty much. And he's like raging about it, and it's nice. Also, he looked like a teacher of us, like the same bald head and such, except his eyes were a bit different. But besides that, me and my brothers kept joking like, "Oh, he looks like that teacher." Ha ha ha.
Yes, and I like the time travel thing as well, because you can freely travel between young Link's the present and the dark future, because he teaches you the song as an adult. Then you go back in time and you play the song to the guy, so he learns it.
What a plot twist! Yeah. What a No, it's not a plot twist. Time. There's a word for it. Anyway, the whole big bazungle. Anyway.
We seem to have got a question here, if it's okay, for Sylvia. Have you ever played D&D? And if you did, what kind of character did you play? Is there a kind of character you would like to play?
I've played D&D a few times. Not like a huge campaign, but like one-offs. The first time I played orc ogre? I think it was orc, and he was a ranger, but he was a coward. And the next one, I was a barbarian human. It was like a very boisterous guy, like, haha, I like your style kind of attitude. And the
I
last
always
one,
play as David the Garden Gnome.
yeah,
It's like a pissed off
yeah.
Garden Gnome. It's technically
That's-
not a class, but my DM lets me improvise.
Yeah,
Sorry
very
for joking.
pissed off barbarian gnome indeed. And my latest one was a Owlin rogue. I think that was like so far my favorite class to play, a rogue. Not too complicated, no magic. You need to think too deeply about like how to do the spells and such. So yes, I have played D&D. Also the question, if not, is there a kind of character you would like to play? Not at the moment. I still need to think about the next campaign we're gonna play, but I think I'll go for Owlin again, or at least a non-human creature.
Does the game have like many beast races?
Let's see. Like I said, we only did like one hit, so I'm not fully, fully pumped up with D&D details. But we got like the turtle race. Not the racing. There are cats. There are owls. I think also lizards. I think. But yeah, I think if you ask the D&D player or the dungeon master, you could be saying like, "Oh, I want to be a fox. Is that possible?" And then, yeah, I think that should be quite flexible if you have a friendly dungeon master. In this case, that would have been Hyrid. So Hyrid is like, I mean, he let a plastic gnome join in, so garden gnome. So yeah.
And also another question. Here's a question from Rhino. To stay on the Zelda theme, which Zelda or Ocarina of Time is my favourite? It would have to be the N64 version, which is the first version I played, because in that version had like a certain fog effect to it. Like when you don't see a head, and there's like a lot of mystical fog around, and I love. It kind of has that mysterious element to it. Like if you watch like old 80s movies, they do have like a kind of fog effect to it, which makes it a lot more mysterious and a lot more like you don't know what's going on beyond the mystic, the dark fog.
Indeed.
And that's what, like also like the movie Legend, which is allegedly what the Legend of Zelda was based on.
Don't think I've seen that one, but
Oh, you haven't seen Legend?
I don't
With
think
Tom
so.
Cruise and Tim Curry. Oh, it's a really good movie. It's got a very similar plot, but replace the Triforces with unicorn horns, and also it's
A devil. by the looks of
yes,
it.
known as the Darkness, and like he's very similar to that of Ganon.
He looks a bit like the devil character from what was it? Tenacious D.
Oh yes,
With Black Jack.
I can imagine that's what he based it on. Really.
Probably.
There is a really terrifying scene in that movie where the guy Tom Cruise is playing, not Link, who is not Link, he has to cross this swamp, and there's like this horrible swamp hag called I think her name was Mrs. Bucklebones or something, and she looks like a horrifying, slimy swamp zombie, and she's like all over him, and it's like, ugh.
Oh yeah, I see it now. I just had to Google. Yeah, it looks like a
I think her
swamp
name is
witch.
Granny Mucklebones.
Meg Mugglebones, yeah.
Mucklebones. And going back on the term of Ocarina of Time, I do actually love the terrifying elements of the game, because in Link's Awakening, it's all bright, it's all colourful, you've got fun little characters, and in Ocarina of Time, it's all creepy and dark and horrifying creatures that will give you nightmares, especially Dead Hand, because when you go down into the well to get the compass, and you get all these hands coming up in the ground that grab you, and then you got this horrifying monstrosity coming up with a huge jaw chomping at your face.
Yeah. Super creepy indeed.
Yeah, I was saying, like, imagine if they brought that back in Tears of the Kingdom.
If I was fighting that thing in real life, it would suddenly be popping up. I'd be like having my eyes closed and just randomly swinging towards where I think the monster is. Like, stay away, kind of way, being
Yeah.
terrified. What you by the way just said, you were saying the Link's Awakening is like colorful as such. The writing, however, of Link's Awakening does add a element of horror. At some point, you realize that the island is just a dream,
Exactly.
and that's the part where it starts to get creepy. You could say it's not like you can see it, but the element of like the weight on your shoulders once you finish the island or wake up the egg. I keep forgetting names. I'm very good with names. Then it's all gone.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Especially like all the friends you made, including Marin, unless you beat the game without dying, because there should be a little Easter egg where you see like a Marin with wings singing. I never got that.
I should remember that for my stream upcoming Monday, where I'm gonna start playing Link's Awakening on the Switch on my Twitch channel. But yeah, it has a dreadful feeling at some point, you could say.
Yes. In Ocarina of Time, I suppose in contrast to between Link's Awakening and Ocarina of Time, if Link's Awakening was The Hobbit, then Ocarina of Time would be Lord of the Rings, especially how you go from a light children's fantasy fairy tale to a dark, heavy fantasy with war and destruction and the weight of the world on your shoulders. And
yeah, exactly.
Overcoming impossible odds to defeat the ultimate evil.
I'm just now imagining, like you're saying, Ocarina of Time is like Lord of the Rings. That's why am I so good with remembering names? Gollum.
Gollum, yeah.
Yeah, that he would be like a skull kid, being like my precious kind of thing,
Gollum kind of reminds me of the carpenter's son, who you usually get see at night in Kakariko's village. He looks very lean and creepy looking, like he has.
Oh yeah. I know which one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think he also in Indian Adult Link's timeline he appeared in the woods, and I know he appeared somewhere, and then you meet this little Kokiri child that said that he might have turned into a Stalfos, which would have been a bit creepy.
Yeah, he's already creepy looking enough, and then he turns into a Stalfos. Even worse.
I suppose one question I could ask about Ocarina of Time is, what would be your favourite dungeons?
My favourite dungeons? Let me think. Ooh, but I mean, they're all quite good.
Yeah.
Well, my least favorite one will be the Zora one, for obvious reasons. When you're adult Link.
Yeah.
My favorite. I think I have to say the first one,
Inside the Deku Tree?
Yeah, Deku Tree. That one would be my favorite because of you learn the things. It's like how to use your tools, learn the game. Also, that big spider enemy at the boss. That is terrifying, but when I played it again later, it was like, oh, I've seen you before, I now know what to expect, but you're still terrifying.
Yeah, especially when you walk in and you look at the ceiling, you see an eyeball there.
Yeah, and then the whole animation, or like the cinematic of that part, like it comes climbing down and then revealing itself, and Link being like, yeah.
Any other dungeons?
Let me think. I mean, I don't really have a favorite. That makes it a bit hard. Like, they're all pretty good. I can only say my least favorites ones, like the Zora one when you're adult, or Jabu Jabu. Jabu Jabu is annoying with the princess.
Yes,
the
and
annoying brat.
And you got these weird swinging tentacle things, and you got these jellyfish that come after you, and also Barinade. Oh my god, I hated Barinade because he spins at you really, really fast, and he keeps electrocuting you.
Yeah, it's very annoying indeed. Well, I could think a bit more. What is your favorite dungeon or dungeons?
I think my favorite one would probably be Dodongo's Cavern, where you go in, you see like this giant skull of a dead adult Dodongo.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and I like the idea like you will have to open it, and also fighting the Lizalfos, and then you take on King Dodongo himself, who rolls after you. Another dungeon I really like is the Forest Temple because it actually feels like as the first three dungeons are inside various cave cavern locations, this one actually feels like you're an actual dungeon from say like a fantasy game.
Yeah, because it's like a deserted
Yeah, it's all covered in
place. Yeah.
vines and that, and you hear like this music going like that sort of thing. Then you're greeted, yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
greeted by Wolfos. And of course, the main thing we have to do is you have to find all these the Poe sisters in order to return the flames, whilst encountering Stolfos for the first time, especially ones that can somehow walk across the pit.
yeah,
And then, yes, sorry, you continue.
yeah, I think I would have to say that's also a favorite of mine because of how it's like dressed up and the whole yeah. And the tricks, well, the puzzles you have to solve with the Poe sisters, like shooting the paintings. Which painting is she in? And all those like elements you learn. And some of them also coming back to future Zelda games and such, which like, hey, I
Yeah.
remember this, and yeah.
And also, I like how suddenly it gets a bit weird. Like suddenly you're in this corridor that's all twisted round, and you suddenly have to
Oh, yeah,
and you see yourself going upside down. It was like so surreal. Like
Quite
the
trippy.
temple is starting to shift around itself,
Mm-hmm.
and then you meet this boss who appears to be Ganondorf. And you're thinking, wow, you're meeting him this early, but then he rips his own face off, revealing himself to be an undead version of himself.
Yeah.
And then you have to fight him going into various paintings, and so then you have to directly fight him with the sword,
Mm-hmm.
and then which is basically like practice on how you actually have to fight Ganondorf.
Yeah,
And
eventually. Yeah. Hmm.
and then the real Ganondorf comes in and says, "Right, you failed me, so I'm sending you to the gap between dimensions." So it kind of like gives you an idea, like Ganondorf can make like spectral clones of himself.
Indeed, yeah. Ooh, that was like quite an experience for me back then, that game, like seeing these new things. Because back then I didn't play that much, but that game was like a big impact on me, like what video games could be in 3D and such. Because I think most people would have experienced 3D for the first time with the N64 or one of those Sega consoles, which I don't have any experience with at all, but yeah.
Yeah, especially with the Z targeting, where you can. And I suppose another thing about Ocarina of Time is I didn't find Navi that annoying because I know he keeps saying, "Hey, hey, hey, listen, listen," but I
think-
like.
I think pretty much like when the internet became bigger, I think it was more like a meme than actually being annoying. But then back then they didn't really call it a meme, but it's like, oh, Navi is annoying. Then other people being like, hey, let's make fun of the fact that Navi is annoying, even though she's not annoying. I think it's just a running joke at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did find it her pretty decent companion. I think her and Midna are two of my favourite Zelda companions due to how like they feel like you're a good friend, like a friend, of course.
Yeah,
I can interrupt. I think my theory about Navi is more that Zelda Ocarina of Time is really like a stop and go like rhythm in the game, and that annoys people, and they kind of blame that on Navi because he's usually the one who calls that on. Like people when they play an action game, they want to keep going, but in Zelda you very often have to open your inventory and solve puzzles and all that. I think Navi gets blamed for
I
that.
remember Aaron bringing that up in his sequelitis video, and I was like, it doesn't bother me that much because I like the sort of slow paced exploration and adventure to make it more like you're experiencing a fairy tale adventure in a way.
I get it, but of course that's the difference between approaching a game like an experience or like a video game. And I guess I'm in the middle of that because with Sonic I kind of like cutscenes and all that kind of stuff, even though that also kind of interrupts the rhythm. So yeah, experience.
Well, you better. Well, Roger, you better not play Skyward Sword because Fi or however you want to name her, is known to be interrupting a lot. I think they fixed it like in the re-release or in the Switch version. But she loves to explain things like, Link, be careful with this and that, blah blah.
Oh,
she's
I know
worse, she's
Ocarina of
worse
Time
than
is
now.
slowly compared to where it's going. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry for interrupting you.
No worries, no
you have
worries.
a 20% chance of, I don't know, having legs. I don't know.
There's a 20% chance that you won't be able to breathe underwater.
There's a 10% chance that this floor is made out of floor.
My God.
But yeah, going back into Ocarina of Time, it actually has one of my favourite final dungeons in a Zelda game. You actually have to storm a demon lord's castle. I mean, that's probably why I liked Castlevania, because there's this dark castle full of monsters with a dark wizard, dark lord at the top, and you have to storm it. And I remembered when you release all the barriers and you get the main keep in the middle, and I was like, oh, it is. I could do this, and just storm right in. And then you finally encounter Ganondorf, who pretty much evokes Count Dracula with him playing on the old organ with Zelda in a crystal, and then you have to actually have to fight him.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you thought that it was all over. He suddenly comes back, and I know about how he has another version of him called Ganon, who looks like this ugly-looking pig monster. And I thought,
Warthog, hog, yeah.
Yeah, he suddenly uses the Triforce of power, and he turns himself into the devil. It was so terrifying because he moves over you with two giant swords, and you're thinking, "Oh my god!" And of course, he knocks the sword out of your hand, which it wasn't much of a problem for me because I've also got the Goron sword, so that's why it wasn't much of a problem for me. But that's why I regard fighting Demon God Ganon as one of my favorite final boss fights.
Cool. Like from the Zelda franchise or from all the games?
I would say from all the Zelda games, because it feels like you're actually fighting the devil with you're surrounded a ring of fire. There's thunder and lightning. It's like the fate of the world is now in the balance now.
Yeah, pretty much. If you don't defeat him, that's the end of the world. If you defeat him, you've saved the world. Yeah, that's like the moment, indeed. Let's see real quick at the questions. If any are focused on us.
Well, Rhino asked what our preferred Zelda style is.
All right. Classical to pretty much like 2D, 3D, or open world. I think that's like three categories. You could put those in, maybe.
I would say 3D or dark fantasy 3D because of I like the semi-realism to the Zelda games, especially with the added horror aspect as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, what your favourite Breath of the Wild shrine is?
I mean, there are only 120 shrines. I mean, it's that easy to figure out which my favorite was. I think, well, when it comes memory-wise, what stuck to me was one of the earliest shrines you might encounter is the one with the where you have to move a ball through a maze while moving the controllers with that device where you're standing at. And then I realized, hold on, I can turn this platform or this maze completely around, and then there's a flat surface, making it a lot easier to navigate the ball to where it needs to go. And that's something that made my mind blow, oh, there's so much more you can do with Breath of the Wild. And that shrine just sticks with me a favorite of mine. Not really sure what will be the favorite, but it's one that's stuck to me, which made me realize how much more Breath of the Wild had to offer at that point.
Yeah, I think my favorite shrines would be the ones where you don't actually do anything in the shrine. Is like you have to do an elaborate quest to raise the shrine, and then you go
Oh
in,
yes,
and
yes.
the mummy dude was like, "Hey, you done it. Here's your thing." I think one of the ones that really sticks out to me. I think it leads up to a shrine. I can't remember where it is, but it's like you've got these ruins, and it's all dark. You can't see a thing. You have to use
Yes, yes.
torches. And I
I
remember there
remember
was
it.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
remember.
near the that's near the uh let's say the Kokiri forest or like the Lost Forest. It's like near that place. There's like it's like an island almost. There's only one entrance, and there are like these statues of ancient something around it, and it's like pitch dark. And you have some enemies. You need to use your torches to light up these owls statues,
Yeah, that's it.
and then
Yeah.
continue through it. Yeah, that was quite an interesting one. At first, I was like, "Oh, let me guess. There's going to be like loads of enemies in here. There's probably going to be a guardian and all that." But it wasn't that bad. But just like it made me giggle afterwards when thinking back of it. At some point, I got to the place where the shrine would be revealed, but there was like I said, I'm bad with names. The one with the one eye, the big giant.
Equinox.
Enox, yeah. Popped. I was like, oh, I have to fight that thing in the dark. All right.
Yeah, that
Oh
kind of
boy.
freaked me out when I first saw it.
Yeah, yeah. Because I did hear it snore, and then I got close, and then I realized, like, oh, it's a Hinox. This is gonna be fun. Yeah.
I suppose. Back to Zelda. We talked mostly about Ocarina of Time. We talked a bit about Link's Awakening. I suppose, like, going quickly back onto Link's Awakening. My favorite version of that would be the Game Boy Color version because that version had a character who is a photographer mouse because it connects to your Game Boy printer. Who, because if you go to his photography shop, he travels around Koholint and at various moments he takes you out as your busy adventure to take photographs of you. And I really like that when you got these little cutscenes of asking you to position all that, and you get these really funny photos. Like sometimes you got ones of him like accidentally falling off, and there's a really hilarious one where Link and Marin fall down a hole, and you see a photo of them getting in pain.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think I was a little bit disappointed they cut that out in the Switch remake in favour of the Dunpay's dungeon designer. But I like that. What makes the DX version more unique in a way.
Yeah, but I was thinking like when I heard the photo feature was removed, I was like, why couldn't they have it both? Like, why
Exactly.
wouldn't that work? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I was gonna say like maybe it was space, but at this time, like in these ages, the cartridges are quite big when it comes to like data and such. It's like a small minor thing, like a photographer thing. Why couldn't they just keep that in? But yeah,
exactly. Okay, we talked about Link's Awakening. We talked about Ocarina of Time. Let's talk about Twilight Princess. The reason I like that game because ever since I saw the Lord of the Rings movies, I saw like how it has certain similarities. And I thought to myself, man, imagine if they made a Zelda game like this, and you get to explore a Hyrule that was like Middle Earth. I mean, Twilight Princess's Hyrule was a bit like Middle Earth, but I felt like Breath of the Wild's Hyrule was a lot more like Middle Earth. Like you could tell that Anuma might have taken some inspiration from like New Zealand and maybe some European countries.
most
And
likely. Yeah.
yeah, I remember when I first saw the trailer, and you got like Link fighting what looked like warg riders and a creature that looked like the Balrog, and I was like, yeah, I was so hyped for this. And you got like Link being a lot more like Aragorn, and I remembered like how it kept getting delayed and all that, and then eventually it became a launch time for the Wii, and then you hear about the wolf gimmick, which I thought, oh, it's going to be like that, isn't it? He's going to talk into a wolf, and he's going to turn into a wolf and get ridden by this little girly gremlin person, and actually the wolf gimmick doesn't bother me that much in a way because I like
See,
the idea.
when I saw that the first time, like the wolf gimmick, I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And then when it came out and I played it, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." So pretty much, I really liked that gimmick, but at the start, I was kind of annoyed, like, "Oh, I can't change into a wolf at will, um, like whenever I want." But later on, you get the feature that you can just do that anyway. As also what you said earlier, like your favorite companion, I think for me it would be Midna because she's like very cheeky, a cheeky imp, pretty much.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like Midna as well. Like how she's a mischievous little imp, and often gives you a bit, often snarks at you
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. I was a bit disappointed that when she turned back into human, she wasn't as snarky as her imp version was. That's probably why her imp version was more popular than her human version.
Yeah, yeah, because he seems like to be a completely different character,
It's kind of like
almost.
a bit of a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing. Like when the Beast turns back into a human, he's got like, "Hello, I'm a human man. Hello." He doesn't have that kind of personality he had when he was the Beast. I know he's like, "Oh, he's redeemed now." It's like, but you could make it a bit more, a bit like,
Yeah, I
"Oh,
would jokingly think with the Beast from Beauty and Beast, was jokingly thinking like, why don't you just turn back to the Beast? You were better that way.
yes, exactly."
Same
Oh,
with
no, no,
Midna.
I turn back into the midget.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yes, I enjoyed the how I think the reason with Twilight Princess because when we first saw the Space World demo with Link and Ganondorf sword fighting, we thought that's going to be what the GameCube Zelda's going to be like, yeah. And then
Mhm.
you got Wind Waker. It's like, oh, what's this Toonie Link thing? What's this all about?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, here's the Dark Zelda you wanted. So like, yes, and yeah, I actually do like the how it has that Tolkien feel to it in a sense because like with how you got the Bokoblins, they like the Goblin Riders, especially when you have to fight the
Yeah,
Bokoblin War.
there was an interesting bit, yeah, like having not only the main story, but he also had like a sort of a extra story happening with those riders and such, especially with the big guy. Like at the end, he just
Yeah,
has respect for you.
it was brilliant, like how you get to joust him on the bridge, and like as
Yeah,
he falls off, you
yeah.
see this triumphant cutscene of him raising his sword on his horse.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and also it has some creepy elements as well. That kind of didn't make much sense because, like, they kind of talked about like how the Dark Shadow Tribe, and then you got all these little Ilias falling down the sky, and then you got Link screaming his head off, and I was like, what? Heck am I watching?
Yeah.
Um, and also I liked how it has more interesting dungeons in a sense. Oh, and also like how you go into the creepy. I think it's called Arbiter's Grounds, which is like a giant, which looks like a giant coliseum, and then you can
Mm.
find all these horrifying creatures in there, and you got like this giant skeletal dragon. I think
Hmm.
you have to use the spinner. Now that was an interesting thing. We had to go up walls and such.
Yeah, yeah, that was the thing that needed like you needed to get used to it to use that thing, but eventually once you got how to use it, like, oh, this is great. And then using it in the boss fight of that temple was like, whoa, it's overwhelming. Well, it was overwhelming for me. It was also epic in some kind of way.
Yes, in a sense, and also you do start to feel sorry for Midna as well. You start to learn more about her story, like
Hmm.
how she was betrayed by Zant and how she got sick, and then when you finally encounter Ganondorf, she is like she used the dark power of the fused shadow to actually destroy him, which
Hmm.
didn't work. And then at the end, when she actually gets her kingdom back, you actually feel like she gets her redemption, and then she has to make the difficult decision to destroy the doorway between worlds to stop any further invasions.
Yeah. And she really has a big character development through the story because at the start, like we said, she was very snarky, sarcastic, being mean, like "Hurry up, little wolf," blah blah blah, that kind of attitude. And then later on, she starts to get more feelings, you could say, towards Link and most likely also Zelda, like respect and such.
Mm.
So she is very well written, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
like, also the other characters has their heartstrings being pulled quite a lot, like with the children.
Yes. Yeah. Especially with the children.
Mm.
I think like there's also Zant. I remember. Oh yeah, I remember like in the beginning where he like besieges Hyrule Castle, and
Mm.
you first see him and you hear this horrifying violin screech every time he appears wearing his helmet, and then
Mm.
when later on when you meet him, he takes his helmet off and he kind of has a bit of a goofy face and like he.
Mm.
I think this was interesting. Like when you first meet him, he's actually very imposing and very terrifying. And then when you actually get to fight him, he seems a bit ridiculous.
Childish.
Childish, yes, childish and a
Mm.
bit ridiculous. Maybe he does a silly dance. You're wondering why they built him up as this very bizarre villain. You realise he's been actually being used as a puppet by Ganondorf.
Yeah. But I think like because he got so manipulated by power as such, that I think he also like pretty much lost his mind. That's why he's acting like the childish way he does and having these tantrums. Because having a lot of power probably does something to your mind, and I think in his case it just, he lost his mind pretty much.
Yes, because I remember
Mm.
the boss fight, like how he does dances around a bit, and the
Mm.
room suddenly changes to different environments.
Oh, that was pretty cool. That you're like, oh, I've been here and I've been there, and yeah, like, yeah, that
Mm.
was a pretty cool boss fight indeed.
Yes, and also what I would like to address is the Sky Temple, which I thought
Oh
was
yeah.
very unique. And I thought
Hmm.
the funny thing is about the Sky Temples, I thought we are going to get dungeons like that in Skyward Sword because most of the dungeons in that game were on the surface world. I think there's only like one dungeon in the sky, which was just
Hmm.
the final dungeon, and it was just like reused rooms.
Yeah,
So
that's a shame.
that's what I'm hoping for in Tears of the Kingdom. You actually get like dungeons set in the sky, or maybe on one of those sky islands.
I hope so too. Yeah, that they do more with it instead of just being like, oh, look, this is in the sky. Have
Yeah,
fun with being in the sky and nothing else. I hope
yeah.
they do something with it. Yeah.
I think you can easily tell this is a more realized version of Skyward Sword due to how like you can freely skydive and travel between the sky islands and the surface world.
Yeah.
Um, I suppose like there's also with Ganondorf. Um, he is a bit more, but he is a bit more trying to be a bit more threatening in this game. Especially like especially how he possesses Zelda, and you're forced to fight Zelda.
Yeah,
Um,
that made my heart skip for a bit when that happened. Like, oh crap, I have to fight Zelda.
yes,
Hmm.
and then he turns into his giant beast form, and then you have to fight him on horseback, and then you get to actually have a proper sword fight with him. I think I was kind of expecting that in Ocarina of Time when you fight Ganondorf for the first time instead of like a ping pong match. You get to have like a proper epic sword fight with him, like
Hmm.
Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader, which I thought was pretty cool, especially when you lock swords with him. I
Hmm.
think I was really disappointed with how he dies because like he gets stabbed and then he just stands there and dies. Just stands there. I thought he would just fall over or something.
Yeah, boom. But instead, it's like standing there like a statue. Like that's it. It kind of reminds me of like One Piece with Whitebeard.
Yes.
He just stands there too, like yeah. But in this case, that was actually more epic than how Ganondorf was died just standing there. Just there's some difference with it, but yeah.
No, he just left his corpse there.
Yeah. Standing proud in some way, but yeah.
Um. Hmm. Uh. Do.
Hey, if you're done, I think Melting
Hang
Man
on,
desperately wants to talk about Crash.
There's one question here from Rhino saying, "What I prefer the censored version that removes mermaid people."
Yeah, I just saw that and I didn't quite understand the
I
context.
think it's something to do with the mermaid in Link's Awakening.
yeah,
Because,
yeah.
Because I think in the original version there was something to do with the mermaid's bra.
Yeah, exactly. And that they changed it in the out of the release outside of Japan. They changed that to make it more child friendly. The same thing with the hippo that was posing for a painting or something. They also changed that. That was showing any hippo boobies or something.
I think I just prefer the original version because I think like, oh, a bra. I don't
That's
know.
what it was. I remember reading that, not getting the context, and it's like, I don't know. First thing that came to my mind was Wild Woody, where like one of the abilities where you could draw like a mermaid, and apparently there is a secret way where you can actually draw the mermaid topless. But yeah.
So yeah, I just like the version we got, really.
Because that's pretty much what we grew up with or like experienced with as such. And it would be weird if there was suddenly a change, like, I don't know, just.
So looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom, where you can make various things out of fusing. Like, can't wait to make my own version of the Death Coaster from Army of Darkness, and also phasing through ceilings. Which I'm hoping it'd be cool if you could also phase through walls as well.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to wait and see what comes out of it. But so far, did I say it right? Agio or Numa is mentioning it just like going through ceilings, nothing about going through walls for whatever reason. But I kind of like the bits when you saw in the trailer, like there's like a thicker ceiling. He was like swimming through it instead of like climbing or such. I thought it was like quite interesting. So you're actually swimming through some energy, some sort of something.
Yeah, and I'm also looking forward to see how the plot unfolds. Like, how did Lich Ganondorf came back? What became of Link's arm? How did the Master Sword get chewed up? And what he must do to restore Hyrule?
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. All that. Also, what happened to Zelda? Like, you see the cutscene where Link and Zelda reach out to each other. I'm wondering, like, what's happening there? Like, is Zelda gonna be okay? Will she be at the palace, or did she get captured in some way?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like what, a month and a week left, or 2 weeks left until it comes out. So
So he's hoping we'll get more directs.
I think at this point I'm more like, okay, just let the game come already. I don't want to see more. I want to experience it now.
Exactly.
Let's do this! Getting into it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I had Butterfingers when I checked the website for that controller, and I pre-ordered it too. My poor wallet.
I already had my poor wallet damaged already today when I had to buy my bed for my flat.
Yeah. Well, like a king-size one.
It's pretty much the same as my one, just a single bed.
Oh, okay. So not a very big one. Yeah.
No.
Okay. So yeah.
Shall we? Anything else?
Melting?
I was just coming in. Yeah.
Well, I heard you chuckling, so I thought like, oh, you were gonna say something.
No, not yet. Anyway.
Okay. Or you're just like tippy-toeing about like, oh, I want to talk about Crash already.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sit down, little boy, just a second.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, maybe just to finish it off, I want to do a little bit of advertising for myself. Bit sneaky, I know, but on Monday I'll be playing Link's Awakening on the Switch, like I said earlier, which you can watch me play at 7 p.m. Central Eastern Summertime on my Twitch channel called Double Silly. And if you got time, if you're bored, come have a look. And I'll be playing every Monday. Also in the future, like when it comes out, I'll also be playing Tears of the Kingdom. So yes, Well, it's called plugging. That's the word. Yeah. Any last questions for us from the chat about Zelda and such?
I didn't see any, aside from the mermaid one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not just now asking like specific. Yeah. I think we mostly talked about Ocarina of Time and not so much the other two games.
Because I think it's because we like that game really a lot.
Yeah, I think that's like the number one pretty much.
Because the
yeah,
thing is about Ocarina of Time, it's my favourite Zelda game, it's my favourite N64 game, and it's my favourite video game of all time.
Though I have to admit, I've not finished Ocarina of Time. Shocker, I know. Blasphemy, I know,
How
I
far
know.
did you get?
I think I got until the castle, like Ganon's castle, tower, however you want to call it. I was at that place, like exploring the rooms or like the areas, and I don't know why I did not continue. So, but I have seen like videos like of other people playing it, so I know what you were talking about with the Ganon beast at the end and all that.
All right.
But yeah, oh yeah, I also finished Breath of the Wild yesterday, so huzzah for me with that one.
And you did it without the Master Sword.
Yeah, I did it without the Master Sword.
How dare you?
Well, the thing is, in that game, if you pull the sword out, you don't have enough hearts. You throw your back out. You die.
Pretty much, yeah. Let's see. Oh, someone has a question. Also, Ocarina of Time versus the whole Sonic franchise. Which one has to die? What? Wait, the whole one has to die. Which one? Would Ocarina of Time have to die, or the whole Sonic franchise?
I think he's like, oh, you can only choose one favorite. Those kind of questions.
For me, it's Zelda all the way.
Sorry, Sonic.
Okay, you're disqualified from Dissected. Out of here.
Well, his Zelda. Well, our Zelda's, but there was an attempt that Sonic. That there was a game where Sonic attempted to be like Zelda, but it didn't really work, especially with the whole talking sword thing.
The gameplay
And
was more
also
arcade
Cockney
style.
Knapper.
I think Sonic Frontiers and Tails Adventures are the closest to Zelda Sonic ever got.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but that's why I
well,
enjoyed Frontier so much.
Well,
Because
I
it
was gonna say, like, with the Wii U version of Sonic Lost World, we got like Sonic cosplaying as Link, and
Exactly.
finding all the pieces of the Triforce.
Yeah, which is now become lost to time. Unless I'm sure someone's saved it with the emulation or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been saved by someone.
Yeah.
It does
Maybe
make you
say
wonder
that.
if someone will make a mod where you put like Link Sonic in Frontiers.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's already happened by now.
So Link doing a spin dash. Oh, there was, by the way, another question. A favorite 2D Zelda game? Well, that's gonna be Link's Awakening.
Same here.
I do love the art style of Minish Cap, but I hate the game. I wish Minish Cap's graphic style belonged to a better game.
That's the game I'm planning to play in the future. Minish Cap, because it's out on the Switch and the Nintendo thingamabob. I keep forgetting the name. Nintendo.
I guess it can be a little bit complicated how you're not sure like what areas you could be when you're like really tiny, and you'll probably like have trouble seeing yourself when you're really tiny. Well, I like the idea how you can like be going to this. There's another world when you're really small, like the Borrowers in a way.
Like they already predicted Ant-Man 3.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, I can't stand Minish Cap because too many puzzles. Like it just really doesn't let you just play and run around for a bit. Like the
And
overworld's,
also like
non-stop
trying to
puzzles.
find all the kidstones.
Yeah, that game is
Yeah.
overdoing it too much.
Those things, yeah.
But the art style's amazing. I guess that's why I should prefer that GameCube game as multiplayer. With the same art style,
Yeah,
but-
Rhino is indeed saying, like, as much as I love Awakening, so is Minish Cap, my favorite 2D Zelda game.
All right.
So, Ewan, do you have something to say?
Oh, must I?
Well, only if you want to. I mean, you're a Zelda fan too, so.
Yeah, pretty much. But I was letting you two basically gush away for almost an hour at this point.
You sound
About
so
Zelda.
nervous. What do you want to talk about? Zelda CGI? CDI? Is that your
Well,
favorite Zelda game?
that's Ewan's favorite, yeah.
His favorite Zelda adventure.
Yeah, Zelda's Adventure. I feel like that's the one that rarely gets brought up because like the other CDI Zelda games, because of the cutscenes and everything. But then Zelda's Adventure is like, yeah, I haven't seen that many people bring up that particular Zelda game.
That was just boring. It's just a realistic Zelda game. Like,
Pretty
okay,
much.
Cool.
I mean, the only interesting thing I found about it was, like, one of the guys that worked on it basically had like his own sort of little website page, or at least answered like a Q&A thing to this like website, and he basically shared all these photographs that he did of all the modeling work he did for that game, including the all the monsters as well as the Ganon form, which I thought was kind of cool to see.
Sala, the captain, wants us to know that yes, as Link Zelda, Sonic has been inserted in Sonic Frontiers.
That's good.
Outfit.
In fact, he
Catching
sent us
a big
a
fish.
screenshot, which should be on screen right about now. So there you go. We can play Frontiers as Link Sonic.
By the way, Roger, have you saved yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to be sure.
Yeah, because don't want to repeat of last time.
We'll always remind you of that, Roger.
Yeah.
There's plenty of different things you can remind me of every screw up I did in my life. It's quite a list. Skyscrapers, bring that up again, why
Yeah,
don't you?
skyscrapers.
And the old classic, huh?
Yeah. And then,
So
of
yeah, I
course,
think that's pretty much it when it comes to Zelda. Oh, what do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I pretty much talked everything I liked about Zelda.
I think so too. So yeah, like I said, it was like the top three we mentioned. I think an honorable mention would be indeed Breath of the Wild. It's not like other Zelda games. It's more like pretty much an open world. It has some elements of the classical Zelda games, but I think it doesn't belong in the same section of that we can say like compare. It's too different to be able to compare it with the other Zelda games.
In a sense, it's pretty much how I wanted an open world Lord of the Rings game to be like. I mean, I did play a Lord of the Rings MMO years ago, but this is how it felt like exploring Middle Earth with the hills and the rolling plains, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan, but I understand what you mean, yeah. So, yes, Melting Man's turn, I guess, to take over.
Oh yeah, right.
So, yeah, I'm gonna leave the call so I can keep an eye on the chats and move
Okay, very
questions
nice
forward.
having you, Sylvia.
No problem. It was quite fun to listen to your side of the story when it comes to your experience with the Zelda games, especially the three same ones that I also like. So that was nice. So yeah, have a good one, everyone. Also, goodbye, chat. Until next time. Bye bye.
Cheerio, Sylvia.
You finally got to talk about something other than a darn blue hedgehog, huh?
Darn blue hedgehog.
Yeah, now Luke has finally lived his dream of Zelda Dissected.
Kind of. And now your turn for your dream to come true.
Yeah, just talking random Crash Bandicoot stuff. I guess I might as well talk about what I've been doing recently. Yeah, so recently with Crash Team Romo coming up, I finally got around to decided to give Crash the Titans a second chance. Yeah, that one fighting game. And well, I'm sure people that follow my videos pretty much know that I made a rant video like over 10 years ago where I was all like, "Oh, this game sucks. Character designs are crap. Ruined forever." Yeah, not one of my best moments, but at the same time, it did kind of teach me, like, okay, next time you should actually script your videos and not just constantly talking out of your ass. So, but yeah, recently I decided to give it a second chance, and it's like, yeah, I mean, for the direction they were going with at the time, with like 3D platformers now focusing more on combat, I'm like, it's alright. There's things I'm fine with, things I don't like. Like I'm kind of softened up to the character designs. Like, yeah, they're fine. They still look and mostly act like how they usually do. I'm kind of starting to warm up to Coco's Titans design, which I like better than the Mutants one. The engine's still kind of going for a more emo look, but it's Nolan North voicing the guy. I always find him hilarious whenever he does Marasmus from Team Fortress 2. And other cases, yeah, Tiny Tiger in Crash the Titans. Yeah, still not a fan of this version of the character.
Don't like the Mr. T voice? Or am I
No,
mistaken?
that's Crunch doing the Mr. T voice.
Oh, sorry.
No, like the main problem I have with this version of Tiny is that the character is like completely reimagined. Like with the other characters, there's still like some essence of how they've been like in the past and whatnot, but not Tiny. Now he's like completely redesigned to be a regular tiger instead of the Tasmanian tiger, because I guess people just didn't do their damn research. And the others, like the more like personality-wise, like, oh, you know, he's talking like Mike Tyson because, oh, he's a strong guy, so we gotta give him a celebrity voice. Ho ho. But yeah, trying to patch like, yeah, that's Tiny Tiger. That's how he's always been. And I feel like, yeah, the character's just too drastically different and everything that he might as well just be his own separate character. And yeah, it is kind of funny. Like, yeah, first they had Crunch acting like Mr. T, and then now have Tiny as Mike Tyson. It kind of makes me think that if they were going to feature Koala Kong in the next styled Crash game like Titans and Mutants, they'd probably have him act like Arnold Schwarzenegger because, oh, tough guy, we need to know the tough guy voice, so random celebrity, woohoo. Yeah.
Hey, Arnold is not a random celebrity. He's the celebrity.
Yeah. Although I think I remember Salah or Captain like years ago in one of your older Q&A videos talked about how he actually liked that version of Tiny Tiger.
How
from-
dare
I
he.
do.
Yeah, I remember that. Even if you did get a few details wrong.
Oh yeah. I did specify that like it felt as if they were intentionally trying to ruin the character, but the character they made him is so hilarious that I can't hate it.
I still don't like it. I don't know, maybe it's just the old nostalgia in me or everything, but I don't know. I guess it's just a little too drastically different for my taste.
Yeah, I get that. Like, if you're considering him Tiny Tiger, it's pretty insulting. But like, if you're just considering him his own character, he's hilarious. I love it. He's cross. I'm very cross with you.
Oh yeah, I think I remember back in oh jeez, great. Now I gotta talk about this thing. Okay, so for context-wise, there was this old series I did when I started off on YouTube called Action Mario and Luigi Plush, and it was the old plush tuber kind of thing. So in one episode I did, it was called What's Old Is New Again, and what happens is like the new designs of the Crash characters like kidnap the old designs and are threatened to kill them or whatnot. And, oh jeez. So what happens is, like, so in that episode I flanderize, like, the new design. So, like, oh, Uka Uka's always mumbling, like, oh, he doesn't have a jaw, haha. And Crash is mumbling, and Brio's acting like Ken Pender's, like, oh, I invented everything, just like how he was in Mind Over Mutants. So with Tiny, that version of him, I kind of just constantly like, oh, I'm gonna beat you up because I'm gay, and that kind of just became the running joke, like, oh, I'm gay, because apparently back then I didn't know who Mike Tyson was. Just, oh, that was terrible.
Awkward and very politically incorrect. How dare you, sir?
Yeah, I'm sure that episode's like very impolitically correct. Yeah. Although funny enough, speaking of Tiny and Crash the Titans, surprisingly, the mobile phone version of that game actually features a completely different design for that character, and it's kind of interesting. If I can dig it up here. But yeah, so oh yeah, I think another thing I remember being angry about with Crash the Titans back then was the spin attack you could unlock. It's like, oh, you can spin, but then you get dizzy, and I'm like, why you get dizzy? Crash has been doing this all his life. But then it's like, okay, well now it's like, well, it's more combat based, so of course they had to kind of tone it down a bit. Though I guess to make up for it, they do kind of add an additional ability where Crash does this hover ability where he like spins around to float down, and I thought that was pretty cool.
All right, cool. But yeah, so there's a new Crash game coming out. What's that about? So it's not Crash 4, unfortunately, Crash 5.
No, we already got a Crash 4, so yeah. But yeah, the new one that's coming out is Crash Team Rumble. So that's basically the big rumored Wumpa League that people were going on about for years. And yeah, so now we finally got a reveal. It's like, oh, it's Crash Team Rumble. It's a PvP game, kind of like those battle arenas. And it seems like the goal is like, you're running around beating characters up, and you have to collect like Wumpa fruit and bring it to your goal. And whoever has the most Wumpa fruit, like near the end or so, is the winner. So it's like one of those kind of type of games.
Have you already sent death threats to the developers if they don't introduce Yaya the Panda?
No, I think they've already got their pants full with people already bitching and complaining about the Crash 4 design because, yeah, apparently that's now a thing where people are like, no, the Crash 4 design suck and terrible and everything here, and me, it's like, oh, really, we're going through this again?
You're the mature one for once. Shocking.
Yeah, I actually like the Crash 4 design. Like I like with Crash in. Yeah, for like one with Crash, I do like the idea that they went back to the whole detail where instead of his muzzle being one color and the belly fur being a different color, like the classic look, they kind of went back to what they did with Crash Twinsanity and whatnot, where it's all just one color, and I think that's kind of a better look for the design. And yeah, Coco's good, Aku Aku's good. Yeah, honestly, there's nothing I really have against any of the Crash 4 designs. I do like an engine now sporting a robot hand, which I guess after being blown up in space by Coco in Crash 3, that didn't end very well for him. Oh, yeah, then Brio's there, which, yeah, it's funny enough, he's now voiced by Roger Craig Smith, so it's kind of surprising. When I first heard this, I actually thought that was Maurice LaMarr coming back to voice him, but then I found out, like, oh, it's Roger, what? So I kind of had to dig up videos to hear the voice comparison, like, oh, yeah, it really is Roger there, but damn, he does a really good job at sounding like Maurice LaMarr's portrayal of the character.
Oh, so he really isn't with retirement. That was a false alert. Right.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, he already trolled the Sonic fan base about leaving the Sonic franchise, and yet here we are, still voicing Sonic.
Sure, not that I really care, but yeah, weird. Oh well, maybe he changed his mind. That happens.
Yeah,
a big sack of money can do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got around to posting the image of Tiny from how he looks like in Crash the Titans, the mobile phone version. And yeah, they definitely took some creative liberties with him. It's like, yeah, it's not like quite the original, and it's not the console version. It's another completely different design for the guy.
Wolverine.
Yeah, pretty much. Tiny Wolverine edition. Oh yeah, speaking of with Crash Team Rumble. Yeah, Sal, if you're there, do you have any thoughts on that upcoming game?
Crash Team Rumble, I don't know enough about it. Like, I've seen some gameplay, but it just seems like the point is just to gather the most Wumpa fruit, and I don't know if that's a very compelling game.
You just broke Melting Man's heart.
We still got a ways to go until its release.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I was always concerned about the title because I've always referred to Crash Team Racing as CTR, as did most people. But now there's Crash Team Rumble, and I've made the joke that there's just going to be a new series of games that are all using those that abbreviation. So we'll have games like Crash Team Russia, Crash Team Rutabaga.
Crash Titty Rocker.
Yeah. Crash Tit Rocket.
Sorry, I had to come up with something weird.
The Tit Rocket! Crash Tango Rebellion.
There you go.
Yeah, it's just easy to make up. I think I saw somewhere that they're trying to differentiate it. Like, okay, we'll just call like Crash Team Racing CTR, and we'll call the new one CTR lowercase u. So that's one way of trying to differentiate it.
Well, then, what are they going to do when Crash Team Rutabaga comes out?
We'll just call it CTR Mark III. Yeah, now we need is like another one for like Crash Tag Team Racing. Yeah. Crash Tig. Yeah, Titty Cock. Yeah. Yeah, that. Crash Tag Team Racing.
I'm a bad influence on you.
Or a Crash Blitz team.
Yeah, Blitz Team.
Hey.
But yeah, now that I brought up Crash Tag Team Racing, man, that was a weird game looking back at it. Like, its whole thing is like, oh, it's a new Crash Racing game, and yet not quite. It's more like a standard kind of platformer game. The racing is just more mini games. But yeah, that was definitely the point when the series was kind of getting more towards, or at least gearing more towards like a more younger audience with how the style of writing for the characters. Like, obviously, Engine's more like exaggerated, and this is where Crunch starts acting like Mr. T. It's like, I don't know, I think I was fine with it just back then, so I thought, oh, okay, it's just maybe just a one and done deal, but nope, they carried it on throughout the next two games. Oh well. I love one hilarious thing about Crash Tag Team Racing, all the credits, because that's like an option you can use, and there's certain names that you highlight, and if you click on them, you can hear Crash and Cortex and Engine making fun of the developers, which is pretty funny.
Even Crash, he can talk there?
Well, technically, this is where the game started, the whole deal. Like, oh, Crash can kind of talk, but he's always talking in mumbles, and I don't know, I just never really liked that. Because, I mean, like, Crash is, like, one of those characters, I feel, that works better as being a mute, just because of how expressive he can be. But now when he's like, you know, oh, his line of dialogue is just him talking random gibberish, it's like, I don't know, it just kind of gets distracting and annoying. Like, the occasional sighs and grunts, that's fine. But if his whole dialogue is just random gibberish, then it's like, no. Just no.
Fair enough. So, Sala, any games you want to talk about that you played in your Twitch?
So I've picked up a game recently from a friend called, what is it? It's called Main Assembly. And I went into it thinking it was going to be just like, what is that? Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Because it's a game about making vehicles.
I remember that.
And, yeah, I was very wrong. Because instead of having just, like, dozens of preset pieces to, like, Lego together a vehicle, you instead have control over every single surface of the vehicle's shape.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options for people to come up with lots of stuff with that creative freedom.
Some people have created, like, flawlessly perfect recreations of, like, the X-Wing from Star Wars, or, Captain Falcon's Blue Falcon.
I remember someone did like a recreation of the old Shoop de Whoop meme. You know, the I'm a fire in my laser. Yeah. Now with functioning lasers.
So I started off playing sandbox mode and I had no idea what I was doing. So I did the tutorial and realized just how deep the game's mechanics are and realized, oh god, I can't make anything worthwhile in this. So, with my knowledge from the tutorial, I tried to make a simple monster truck and realized that my sense of scale is very off. because the tires were so massive that they were just clipping into each other because my vehicle was so small. And so I tried to make it way bigger, and I
Overcompensate.
I kind of succeeded, except that it went like 5 miles an hour at top speed. So I realized I'm missing a lot here.
Not an engineer mind.
Yeah, especially when you have to unlock parts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, there actually is a very useful glitch where it's like you have to put a bench on your standard card or something, and you have to stand on top of it. That causes the card to actually levitate, and by doing that, you can actually get parts in Showdown Town much earlier than intended. So that's kind of the trick that I did when I got around to playing that. So yeah, I definitely have a bit of a history with Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Balls because, well, obviously, one, I'm a big Banjo-Kazooie fan, as that was one of my childhood gaming characters next to Crash and Spyro. So yeah, with Nuts and Bolts, that was kind of. I remember being annoyed that it was an Xbox 360 exclusive because I'm not really an Xbox guy. Because I always felt like with those consoles, there just wasn't that much variety with games. It was always like, oh, the bang bang shoot 'em up games, and that's it. So I was annoyed by that. But over time, I eventually gave it a fair chance when I had to house sit, or at least look after my sister's apartment and take care of her cat. And she had an Xbox 360. And the first thing I did was rush over to the nearest GameStop and buy a copy of Nuts and Bolts so I could finally experience it for myself. And after going through it, it's like, it's decent. I mean, sure, it's no Banjo 3E or whatever one expected, but no, I think it's fine. I had a lot of fun, customizing cards and everything, and running over Grunty in the main homeland. That was always that never gets old, just driving by, then just ram into Grunty and she goes flying backwards. But yeah, I eventually gave it a second playthrough, going for the 100% route, especially with the DLC, and oh boy, it's definitely one of those games where casual playthrough, it's fine, but when going through 100%, it's quite the marathon.
Yeah, seems like it.
Oh yes, trying to get all the jiggies and the music notes and everything.
But it was still fun seeing what people could create in like YouTube videos. Like someone made the SR-71 Blackbird.
Yeah.
Which, I forgot to check. So Main Assembly has Steam Workshop integration, so you can just download other people's vehicles. And they're so amazing.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. Yeah, because I think I actually remember like one of the trailers for that game actually depicted like, oh, customizing, and one of them was like the 8-bit sprite of Mario, in which Banjo decides to like blow it up. Well, that's definitely hasn't aged well, considering how Nintendo and Microsoft are kind of buddy nowadays.
Yeah.
I still want to blow up Mario, though.
Well, first you gotta customize it and just put it on wheels. Like, there, I call it good.
Nah, I got nothing against Mario. Been a while since the last main game, though.
Yeah, it's been a while since Mario Odyssey.
Well, there was Bowser's Fury a couple of years ago.
It was more a half a game rather than a full game.
Yeah, that was kind of more of an expansion pack, but yeah.
I guess they're too busy with Mario Kart at the moment. I still want to check that out.
Yeah, I think they're releasing these DLC waves for Mario Kart 8 because it's very obvious they're not going to do a Mario Kart 9, so they decided to like turn Mario Kart 8 into like Mario Kart Ultimate.
Yeah, pretty much. Although it is still quite baffling that, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch version, that came out like quite a while, and then years later they're like, you know what? Let's do DLC. Like, yeah, that's quite the gap compared to how often DLC comes out with other games.
I guess maybe it's just they don't want to create like a new main gimmick.
That's
or
what I
something.
said. Yeah, they don't want to do a Mario Kart 9.
They're like, Mario Kart 8 is already the best kind of card game we can get. We can't really come up with a new like foundation. So instead, just make a new Mario Kart by just having the tracks that game would have had, and then just adding it to the previous game, I guess. Because Mario Kart 9 would need a new gimmick. Like, oh, what are you gonna add now? It's like,
Then again, I guess some people could say that the Mario Kart mobile phone game is Mario Kart 9, but not much.
probably not. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess there technically was no Mario Kart 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Not in terms of names, no.
Yeah.
Once they got around to, like, I think after Mario Kart Wii, they're like, okay, let's actually start naming these things for once. And then that's how we got Mario Kart 7.
So people can keep track. Otherwise, they wouldn't know the Game Boy Advance game is part 1 or 3 or 7.
Yeah, so like there was, so there was the original Super NES Mario Kart game, then there was N64, then the Game Boy Advance, Double Dash, the DS, and Wii. So that covers all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, not counting the arcade versions.
Oh yeah, the arcade versions with Pac-Man and whatnot. Yeah, those are kind of its own separate thing. Yeah, I actually did experience one of them once. I think it was the third one, but yeah, it was quite interesting. You know, it's you put in a coin out, you pick out your car, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of like momentum. I'm not sure how to describe it. Like basically, like you're playing it like a traditional arcade racing game, and there's like vibrations that happen. So like, if you're going over like bumpy roads, or if you're trying to steer or whatnot, there's kind of a bit of weight and vibration to it. So I was kind of surprised about that.
As soon as I got a little more free time, I want to play around with arcade emulators on the PC again. I found a new one, Techno Parrot, who can do like a bunch of newer arcade games, including Sega Race TV or something, like one of the Sega racing games I never played. So, and should be able to play Virtual Cop free and all that. So there's a lot of Sega arcade games I missed out on. So, would be cool if I could get them to work.
I think my favourite arcade game would be the Star Wars Trilogy arcade, which was developed by Sega and never got a console port.
Yeah, that's correct. You had a sword fight with Darth Vader, and on a level that you're going through you're driving AT-80 in the forest, I think. Bunch of stuff. But yeah, Sega did a lot of Star Wars games, but only in arcades. Yeah, you also had a Phantom Menace pod racer game as well that was different than the console games. Weird, but for some reason they were never allowed to actually put it on consoles. Yeah, so many Sega classics that never got a home release.
It's it's a shame how like arcade games in general, like most of the time they don't get console ports. Like one that I can think of was the Simpsons arcade game that never really got ported. Well, okay, technically it did on the PSN's PS3's PSN store, but then that suddenly disappeared. So now we're back to just having like, just the arcade system, or buying it like a mini version at Best Buy for like over $1,000 or whatnot.
But see, that's the kind of mini I want to see. Like not another Sega Mega Drive mini. Give me a Sega arcade mini, where all those.
What I am hoping for, as we seem to be getting arcade style beat 'em ups recently, like with Shredder's Revenge, and also apparently we're getting an arcade game based on Toxic Crusaders. It would be great if they make a new game based on The Simpsons.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Simpsons Arcade remastered.
Although what I really love about those old Simpsons games is that they still they feel like they're part of an alternative universe, because the first seasons were so different than the later ones. Like where they still kind of play with the idea that Marge was that rabbit from the other series and all that. And it's Mr. Smithers looks so completely different and all that. So it's like a weird alternative universe where Simpson went into a different direction.
I think it was blue-haired Smithers, not the black Smithers. Yeah. Yeah, that was quite interesting. Yeah.
All right, Rhino Beck asks, because there's seemingly no questions right now, what are our thoughts on the first Big Frontiers update? I'm looking at Sala, because I think you played it.
Yeah, because I've been playing it on stream, and I'm going to be streaming that after this stream. So I'm liking it. I haven't finished it yet, because I'm playing through a new save file, so I'm still on Ares Island at the moment. So I haven't found all of the songs. I am liking a lot of the song selection that they picked. though I am disappointed they used the Generations remix of Rooftop Run again. It seems a lot of their music choices were taken from Smash Brothers because they've got the E3 version of His World, and they got Wonder World and Rooftop Run, Sunset Heights, Fist Bump. But I am liking the update, even though it's not too much. The greatest change they've made this update is you can now turn in all of your Cocos at once, which is amazing.
For the Hermit and Elder one, yeah.
Well, I mean, for the Hermit, you could always turn in all of your. For the Hermit, you could turn in all of your seeds at once, but you still converted levels one at a time. And with the Elder Coco, you got one level at a time, and it was so annoying. And now you can do all at once, which is fantastic. Saves so much time.
Yeah, I've heard
Nice.
that update, and what I find baffling about it is that in the actual descriptions, both Elder and Hermit Coco can turn all your stuff at once, and I'm like, couldn't you already do that with one of them? It was only the Hermit one that everybody hated, or the short one, whatever it is.
Oh well,
Yeah, the Elder.
simplified. But does the music really fit with the overworld? Because it feels kind of weird to have that hyper energetic music playing.
Yeah. Definitely, it doesn't quite fit every situation. And what's funny is that, it will actually replace instances of the default music, the overworld music, even in cutscenes. So, if the cutscene will change the music, then it'll keep the music that it normally plays. But, I was playing, and I had, I had Reach for the Stars playing, and I got to the first Titan, to Giganto, when he, Sonic first fights him without the Chaos Emeralds, and Giganto just grabs him and yeets him into the mountain, and it fades to black and comes back, and Sonic wakes up, and you just suddenly hear, "We're gonna reach for the stars."
I do have a couple of complaints about the music player, because if you want a certain track to play, especially if you've got a lot of songs, you have to cycle through every single song at a time. And if you accidentally skip that song, you have to cycle through it all over again because you can't go backwards.
Right, yeah. I've seen some people scrolling up and down, and I've seen that in the controls, but for some reason it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you're supposed to do that, but
Only some consoles? Only on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 or the Wii or the Switch? Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe it's only in cyberspace levels. I haven't even tried. I don't know. But yeah, that would be nice. I completely agree with Luke here. I don't like that you have to cycle through songs, and if you miss it, you got to go all the way back.
Sounds like a pain, yeah. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. I've been busy with my April Fool's project, so I have nothing to say.
I see there's another question from Rhino. It was, it seems like him and Adrian are most popular ones for questions. The other question he asks is, thinking about if we include Omochao in the Chao evolution tree, does that mean Omochaos are roboticized Chao?
No, they're the offspring when the Chow and Badniks had sex with each other and they got bad babies.
Oh god.
Sorry for that.
Funny enough with this particular question, in some ways it's kind of true in what happens in Archie Sonic, because there is a story with Sonic and his friends helping out the Chow and finding a new Char garden, and his Sonic's father Jules, who's a guy who was roboticized and pretty much trapped as a robot, mostly because he was turned into a robot when he was at the point of death. So obviously the process can't be reversed in a way. So what happens there is apparently he gets acquainted with one of the Chows, and then one of them apparently turns into Omochao. So they now have a pet Omochao in Sonic's house.
Okay. Leave it
Yeah.
art should have dramatic explanations for everything. Nice.
Yeah, although, Omochao's not really, he's kind of there, but he really doesn't do much. Like, in the old canon, he's just like, oh, the new pet, and that's it, only shows up, like, 2 issues. In the new canon, he's kind of more of just a messenger robot just showing up or transmitting messages from its eyes. Like, Sally's contacting his father, like, oh, hi, Dad, we're busy saving the world and trying to restore the Shattered World Crisis thingy, yada yada. But yeah, not too much with Omochao and RG Sonic.
Fair enough. It's not like Omochao is that much of an important character. It's more of a gimmick.
Yeah.
Good old Omochao.
I loved in Shadow the Hedgehog. The first time I cleared the game, I cleared it in Semi-Hero, which unlocks the Omochao gun. And I thought that was so disappointing until I used it and realized it's kind of overpowered.
It's kind of a shame some of the best weapons are kind of tucked in Shadow's game, which, considering how lengthy that is when you're trying to get to the real ending, yeah, pretty sure not many people know about it.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
pretty
that's-
tragic, yeah.
Yeah, that's another game I gotta try and give it another chance, the Shadows game, because it's definitely been a while since I played it. I remember going for the neutral route, and that was it. So I got like, Shadow grabbing the 2 Chaos Emeralds in the first level, and fighting off a Robotnik's slot machine in one of the versions. And then one time I tried to go for like the dark route. It's like, okay, let's make Shadow a villain. And then I got stuck at the Space Colony Arc level. I think that's the one where...
yeah, I was stuck
yeah,
with
that's
that.
the one where you're just running around like, oh, you could either like help heal soldiers with Maria, or help Black Doom do bad things, or find an exit route. I think that was another one. But yeah, I couldn't beat that one because I got so lost.
Yeah, same here.
Man, I definitely don't remember the arc being that confusing in Sonic Adventure 2.
No, but then again, you didn't have to find every single item.
Yeah. Then again, I've also heard people say the cyberspace level with SBO. I've heard horror stories and saying that's even worse.
Sorry, what? Cyberspace with Espio?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a level with something with Shadow and SBO in a cyber world or something. I don't know.
Oh, in Shadow's game, I was thinking of Sonic Frontiers. Oh, I get it. The internet level. I guess.
I thought it was the one with Rouge, or is that something else?
I think that is one of the levels. Yeah. I think there's 2 levels with like one with Shadow and SBO and one with Shadow and Rouge, or something. I don't know. That game has too many different alternate routes.
Yes.
It's about as confusing as Star Fox Command, like that one DS game where there's like way too many different endings you could get in that game.
Alright, so here's a potentially interesting but difficult question from Rhino again. What is for each of us the most annoying unanswered question in Sonic? Or in other words, what is, I presume, something of the lore backstory that's frustratingly unexplained? I guess for me personally, it's just a relation between humans and anthros. I would love to get a little world building on that. But yeah, what's you guys' most annoying unanswered question?
Well, knowing Salad, it might be something related to Sonic Unleashed.
No, I already know all the answers to that game.
Of course. You want the
Remember,
god.
that's how I got this job.
Only question you don't know is why isn't there Unleashed 2 yet?
Exactly. That's the unanswered.
Yeah.
No.
Although you can't call yourself a full-on Unleashed knowledgeist if you don't know the Archie Sonic version. That's the one
fair
loophole there.
Okay, I think I've got one. Apart from like Archie and such, what was Eggman's past? In game canon.
In-game canon, yeah.
That's a good one. That's very interesting, yeah. What happened between Gerald Robotnik and Dr. Robotnik?
Like, what was his true first name as a child or something?
Evo.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ivo, yeah.
Yeah, Ivo Robotnik, yeah.
Yeah, they've apparently confirmed that semi-recently in the past few years.
Yeah. I know in the Archie Sonic universe, his original birth name is Julian Kintobor.
Yes. Because in Fleetway, he was known as Dr. Kintaber.
Yeah.
I suppose for me, the most annoying unanswered question is... I mean, I guess this is more of a debunked theory, but the idea that Sonic Riders is a separate timeline, it held a lot of water, but like now that it's confirmed that Sonic Riders is canon, it raises a lot of questions for me. Like, so I've brought up part of the theory is that like, oh, all the characters dress different in the Sonic Riders series, which like isn't normally like an indicator of, oh, this must be an alternate timeline, except that like they only wear these outfits in Riders and they don't wear anything else. So like, aside from Amy in one cutscene wearing her red dress, before they even know what Extreme Gear are, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are dressed in these different outfits. So it's not like they dressed this way because of hoverboards. And then they, in Zero Gravity, they are again wearing these things and carrying hoverboards for seemingly no reason. So it's... And all the technology in Sonic Riders is different than it is in the main games. So it seemed like Sonic Riders was an alternate timeline, and now it's not. And I don't understand that.
Yeah, because like technology in the Riders game seems much more advanced than like the regular games.
Yeah, I've heard people say that all of technology in Sonic is sci-fi. Like, you look at a Metropolis Zone from Sonic Heroes. It's like, that's all sci-fi. It's sci-fi in the sense that, like, Star Wars is sci-fi, but, like, Star Wars and Star Trek's tech do not look the same. And that's kind of like comparing Sonic Heroes and Sonic Riders, is they're both futuristic, but they do not have the same look. Like, Sonic Heroes and Star Wars are, like, futuristic but retro, whereas Star Trek and Sonic Riders are futuristic and not retro. It's all sleek and shiny and stuff.
Never bothered me. I just figured it takes place in a different city. That's like
I also have an unanswered question. I mean, it just came to me. It's basically one of the most unanswered questions I've been thinking about ever since I saw Sonic Underground. Who is Sonic, Sonia, and Manic's father? They never addressed it. They were just born.
Yeah. I think there was one episode where they tried to reveal, like, oh, this character that's, like, in an Iron Mask, like, oh, that's secretly their father, but it turns out, no, it's someone else. But yeah, the whole father deal is never really addressed. So,
I mean, is it like, oh, it's like with Shmi Skywalker, they were conceived by the Force?
Yeah.
Nah, we just
Either
need to...
literal Jesus Chuck Norris Sonic.
Nah, we just need to gather up a bunch of underground characters, put them in a room, and then finally decide, all right, you, that guy with the name, you're the father. I'm not the father.
Oh, man,
It's not going to be like with
South Park episode.
Like, what if it's like, oh, it's like with Cartman's father?
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe Leon Cartman is also Sonic's father.
No, just saying like that Queen Alina is like a hermaphrodite.
Oh god.
No, the question is, who's the mother?
Oh, jeez.
Plot twist. Robotnik was the father.
Oh, it was the milkman.
Yeah, the local
It was
milkman.
the milkman! Oh, man.
Well, anyway, on a more lighter note, in terms of unanswered Sonic questions, I don't know, I don't want to copy Roger's idea, because it's, humans and anthros. I guess there is kind of some kind of explanation, like, well, I know the Sonic Tuber thing, they explain, like, well, the humans live on a bigger island, and we live on smaller islands. But then you got the whole, like, okay, well, where the hell is Gun? They never really explained that. And I think Flynn, he addressed in a podcast or something, like, oh, they all died during the events of Sonic Forces and whatnot, but I don't think that was quite officially established in official media. But, so for more different, or at least my own frustrating thing is, best I can think of is, how the hell can Knuckles glide?
He uses his dreads to catch air.
Oh, that was it. Because I remember that was addressed in RG Sonic, and I thought, oh, that's just Penders being Penders, but yeah, I guess not.
So all of humanity is wiped out in Sonic Forces? Damn.
Well, I guess in terms of gun, they're dead. I guess. But yeah, I don't know. That's always the real frustrating thing, with the franchise nowadays. They definitely rely too much on tell don't show, and I'm kind of more of just a show me the money kind of guy when it comes to building up lore stuff. Like, okay, you tell me how this happened. Now, can you actually show me how it looks like?
Guess that will never happen, yeah. How long do we want to keep having the stream along? Because I feel we're kind of lacking in energy now.
I suppose regarding what happened to the humans in Sonic Forces, I suppose Eggman uses the Phantom Ruby and wiped out all of humanity.
Yeah, that's kind of adds like a much more darker twist on the ending. Like, oh, he wiped out all of humanity, and then Sonic and his friends beat up Robotnik, and we never see him again. So, congratulations, Sonic! You have now killed off the last remaining endangered species.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, and then of course,
it's funny to consider. It's funny to consider that Eggman used the Phantom Ruby to get rid of the humans and just the humans. And he didn't do that for any of the ants.
Yeah, that's a pretty. I can imagine that would just.
I suppose he's has the same motives as Magneto because he wants to kill all non-mutants.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I imagine that'll be Sega's get out of jail free card when trying to address the humans. Yeah, they'll just be like, everyone died. The end.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't take it seriously. It just sounds like a bullshit. We want to avoid responsibility.
Yeah, well, it's pretty frustrating, especially when it's kind of like that in IDW Sonic. Well, okay, I don't want to get too much in. That's kind of getting more into spoilers, but there's a specific group of characters that are kind of in that same category as well, in a way. But that's for whenever we get back into IDW Sonic.
I guess so. Well, I guess we should be ending then. Our stream has been 2 hours.
All right.
So, or is anything left to say by anyone?
I guess I could plug in my April Fool's thing.
Sure.
I could go a little more in depth with it now since it's been a while. But yeah, so with my April Fool's prank, I decided to do one for Archie Sonic Character Files, where it's, I could finally do a Big the Cat and his amazing epic adventures in the comics, and then the video plays normal, blah, blah, blah. It's like, in this episode, we take a look at the history of Big the Cat. Wait a minute, Big the Cat? Fuck that shit. We're talking about Steve and Jesse from Sonic Live. And so throughout the whole video, I'm talking about these two forgettable one-shot characters from Sonic Live. And it's played up more for laughs, like explaining their story and whatnot. It's completely made up. I get details wrong, or I'm constantly changing it. So, yeah.
You silly bugger.
That's my April Fool's prank for this year. And then at the end, I give my real thoughts. Like, yeah, these two characters suck. Yeah, I just kind of figured, Sonic Live is kind of notorious for being terrible, so I guess if I really wanted to do that particular story, Last Game Cartridge Hero, that's like, okay, I'll just do it for April Fool's and call it good. That's the only time I'm going to do that story. Of course, the other two stories are also fine, but those are for a different time.
I think my favorite joke from that was Steve and his power to reprogram the remote into a video game controller.
Yeah, it was kind of like, because in that panel, he's supposedly playing a Genesis game or whatnot, but you can clearly tell he's holding a freaking remote control and not a Genesis controller. So there, that's my excuse. He can reinvent it into a game controller.
How wacky. Luke, you have any final thoughts?
Not really. Not. I can't think. I'm rather tired now.
Fair enough. You talk.
We're all April Fooled outed.
Then I think we should be ending this. Yeah, I guess I couldn't end this stupid drawing of human crash. It looks ugly anyway. Yeah, time to finish it up. So see you all next 2 weeks, where we finally go back to Sonic X and Sonic Fleetway, since I'm finally released of my April Fool's duties, I guess.
Yeah. Chances are I probably won't be at the next stream because I'm going to a concert in 2 weeks.
Ooh, concert of what?
It'll be a Sabaton concert in London.
Alrighty. Do you want us not to talk about Sonic Fleetway or something, or you don't care? No.
I don't care.
All right.
Alrighty.
Very well. Well, see you all in 2 weeks, except for Luke.
Yep. See y'all in 2 weeks.
Boy.